Joining me now is Liberal Senator Alex Antic. Alex, we've got a new city being built in Sydney, which should be open by 2026. The planning documents show it's going to be a 30-minute city with sustainable and green car-free streets. It wasn't that long ago that people who talked about this concept were called conspiracy theorists. But what do you think about this? Surely there are no dangers here. There's just convenience and sustainability. What could go wrong?
No, and you forgot security, Rita, as well. That's always the other one that's used when people are up to something. Yeah, this used to be the 15-minute city issue, which people were called when they talked about it with some concern were called far right or conspiracy theorists. Now it's a 30-minute city, so there must be twice as many conspiracy theorists and twice as many far righters. But look, reality is this is steeped in all the language of a socialist climate agenda. I can remember this from my time on the Adelaide City Council, which, by the way, is the treatment has almost been finalised for that stint of 4 years. I'm feeling much better. But this would happen every single time in the early days of smart cities agendas and shared access zones and any opportunity to take a car off the street with an EV powered station or a little parklet or a garden bed. These councils are controlled by socialists. And the reality here is that this 15-minute city agenda is nothing more than that. This is a climate agenda wrapped in a convenient bubble. And by the way, these are cities which allow us to be turnkey communities, really. So think about it in terms of control. If all of a sudden, you can't go further or you don't need to go further than 15 minutes in either direction in order to do what you need to do, then it's very easy in some cities to simply make it very hard for anyone to leave when the time comes. And we see that coming out of places like Oxfordshire in the UK, where there are tolls put into place if you go further than your allocated zone. So all of these things were considered to be conspiracy theories. The reality is that, like so many things we've heard about in the last 2 or 3 years, they're coming true. So who are the conspiracy theorists?
Well, yeah, it all sounds wonderful until you just tweak it slightly, and then something that's wonderful becomes very sinister indeed. And there is a lot of socialist language at play here. Now, today's political news, I've got to say, has been dominated by the behaviour of politicians, their alcohol intake. This all comes after the Barnaby Joyce saga, that vision of him in Canberra, and then Nationals Deputy Leader Perrin Davey also appearing to be a little tired and emotional during a Senate hearing. I know Zali Steggall is very perturbed by this. She's been all over Sky News talking about it. Do we need to change the culture of Canberra? Do we need breathalyzers, drinking bans? Alex, does Parliament have a drinking problem?
Yeah, look, I don't think it does, Rita. I don't see any signs of that. I mean, occasionally people are trapped in the building for long periods of time and they will socialise. But on the whole, I don't really see any great need for this. I mean, at the end of the day, it's obviously not a good look having, people in the condition that Barnaby was. But he's quite right. I mean, it wouldn't be nice if someone had come to his assistance rather than take the opportunity. As for Parliament House, look, the reality is, they're long hours in that building. People are stuck in that building for long periods of time, sometimes until early hours of the morning. And I think people do occasionally drop around to an office for a drink. I would hate to see that stamped out because there is a significant need for a collegiate approach to politics. I think we're actually missing a lot of that. I mean, there's part of me that thinks, frankly, and pull me up on it if you like, that the days of having a parliamentary bar, where people could go and mingle between parliamentary parties is a sad opportunity lost. So, look, we don't want to see more regulation placed in there. I don't see a problem. Maybe I'm just not getting invited to the parties. That's a very strong possibility, actually, I might say.
Yeah, you're too well behaved, Senator Antic. You're not going to get into the headlines with that sort of behaviour. Now, I've got to ask you about what's happening in the US. The political prosecutions against Trump could have all sorts of unintended consequences. Legal experts are warning that it could lead to a business exodus out of New York into places like Florida and Texas, because New York State has become a bit of a legal banana republic, if I could use that quote from a legal expert. I mean, it's astonishing when you look at this New York case, the fine that's been applied here, the whole premise of the case and some of the assumptions. I mean, Banana Republic is giving it too much credit. This is crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's relentless, isn't it? I've seen President Trump speak to crowds online where he says, you know, I know when I'm going up in the polls, I know when I'm getting another indictment, because they go hand in hand. I mean, this tactic that they have put in place to try and lift every rock and find every possible thing that was done does not seem to be working as a starting point. The second limb to that is, you're right, the perverse outcomes are there. I mean, for example, take the issue of the case regarding presidential immunity in relation to the issue of the documents, for example. I mean, what does this mean for presidents of years gone by, presidents that may have ordered drone strikes on American citizens? You know, there have been a few of those over the years as well. So I think, unfortunately, this desperation, this Trump derangement syndrome that has grasped and grappled with much of the left of politics in the United States may have far-reaching consequences. And of course, people pulling up stumps from New York and moving again to Florida, we saw that during COVID as well, may just be one of these perverse outcomes.
Well, it couldn't happen to a nicer city, I tell you. Some of those Democrat heartland cities, they've got all sorts of self-inflicted issues, crime being one of them, and now these crazy legal cases that are quite clearly politically motivated. Senator Antic, thank you so much for your time this evening. Appreciate it.